Okay, we are continuing with volume, and I need you to open your Learn books, and you want to be on page 32. So, your Learn books, page 32. It's actually the back of the page we worked on previously. And what it says, we're continuing to work with volume, like I said. It says calculate the volume. There's that word. And every time you see the word volume, I want you to think volume equals length times width times height. Always keep that in mind. When you enter that formula in, that's your cheat sheet to label the dimensions and solve the volume. It says include the units in your number sentence. Instead of include the units in your number sentences, we want to include the units in our answers. We're just doing something a little different. Okay, so on A, they want me to find the volume, and I know I'm going to say volume equals length times width times height. And I know this would be my length. I always like this to be my length, so I'm going to key that in for 4. My width is up the side or down the side, 3. And my height is from bottom to top, which is 4. And it doesn't matter what order you solve these in. I always just go left to right out of habit unless I see an easier way to go opposite. So I'll grab 4 times 3, that's 12. And 12 times 4, that's 48. So volume equals 48, and let's include the units, that's inches. And we have to put the little cubic symbol on it, 48 cubic units. You would solve this one the exact same way. Write your formula, fill in your length, your width, and your height, and solve it. Okay? You can come back and do B on your own. Let's look at number 4, Tyrone. And let me see if I can cover the bottom of this so that it doesn't distract us. Right here. Tyrone is constructing a box in the shape of a rectangular prism. That just means it's a cube. It's a cube, and all of the faces, like the sides, they're all shaped like rectangles. That's what a rectangular prism is. So he's constructing a box in the shape of a rectangular prism to store his baseball cards. It has a length of 10 centimeters, a width of 7 centimeters, and a height of 8 centimeters. What is the volume? There's that word volume. So I know, let me go ahead right now. Volume equals length times width times height. Now, notice with this word problem, we don't have pictures. We don't need pictures as long as we have the dimensions. So we're going to fill in the dimensions. So I'll say volume equals the length was 10 centimeters. The width is 7 centimeters. And the height is 8 centimeters. Now all I have to do is multiply to find the volume. So I can grab 10 times 7, that's 70, times 8. And we know 7 times 8 is 56. Add the 0, so my volume is 560 centimeters cubed. So just don't worry if you don't see a picture. If they're giving you the dimensions, that's all you need. Okay, let's move on and look at 5. All right, Aaron says more information is needed to find the volume of the prisms. Talking about these. Explain why Aaron is mistaken and calculate the volume of the prisms. Okay, let's look at A. Well, when we're looking for volume, we want length times width times height. So volume equals length times width times height. Now, if we look at this, we don't see a length and a width and a height up here like we've been seeing. We see area equals 60 square centimeters. And then we see this 5 centimeters. What they have done is the area, that means that this piece right here, and I'm going to highlight it so that it stands out, that this face or this side, they've already figured the area. And if you remember in 4th grade, when you were looking for area, you had to do length times width. So what they're saying is they've already found that for you. So they're saying right here, this has been done for you. They're saying the length times the width is 60. So the area of this bottom, let's just say you could flip this over and this be sitting on the bottom. They're saying the length and the width is 60, and that's what we're calling it. Times, we're going to use the 5 for my height. And then, of course, I just multiply these. 60 times 5. We know 6 times 5 is 30. Add that 0, so that'd be 300 cubic centimeters. And the reason this has a 2 on it for square is because that's the area. They were just doing the bottom of this, the side, not the whole 3-dimensional figure, just this one flat area. That's why it's just area with a 2. Okay, let's come and look at B. Once again, they're giving us the area, and it's on the very top, which could also be the very bottom. Because whatever the area is up top, the very bottom will have the same area. So I'm going to write my formula. Volume equals length times width times height. And my length, well, let's see. It's in the same situation as this. I'm given an area and then a dimension. And remember, we said area covers length times width. So that's already spoken for. They're saying that's 20 times the height would be 12. Now, we know 2 times 12 is 24, and add that 0. So that would be 240 cubic inches. Okay? Now, let's look at the next handout that I have. This one is not in your book. Here, we are going to be finding the missing dimension. Let me highlight that. The missing dimension. And if you'll notice, when it's 3 dimensions, I've got 1 dimension, a second dimension, and there's no dimension here. So this is missing. I've got to figure it out. They're telling me what the whole volume is. Now, this is not the same as the problem we were just doing. This did not have a missing dimension. This one combined some dimensions, the length and the width, to get one number. This one is actually, it's got a missing piece that we've got to figure out. Once again, let's write our formula. Volume equals length times width times height. Okay? Now, let's fill in what we know. Volume, they're giving me this right here. The volume is 25. Bring my equal sign down. The length, we'll put 5 here, times the width, we'll put 5, times, here's the height. And the height, we don't know. Okay? So let me solve what I've got so far. I can grab this, that's 25, times something, and I know it has to equal 25. Well, think about it. 25 times what will give me 25? I hope you're saying 1. So the height that is missing, h equals 1, and it's inches, 1 inch. Now, another way, let's just say these were larger numbers and you couldn't just look at that and tell immediately. What you could do is divide these. You could say 25 divided by 25, and that would give us 1. I'll do one in a few minutes to show you. Let's come to number 2. Let's write the formula. Volume equals length times width times height. Okay, my volume, they're saying, is 48 cubic feet. My length, see, the width is missing, so let me go ahead and put a question mark there. My length can be 2, and it really doesn't matter what order I put these numbers in. I'll get the same answer in the end, and my height is 6. So I've got 48 here, and I'm going to grab the 2 and the 6 and multiply them. 2 times 6 is 12. So 12 times this is going to give me 48. If you didn't know 12 times what, remember what I said you could do to these. Since we're multiplying, do the opposite. Say 48 divided by 12. And if you set that up right here, 12 will go into 48 4 times. 4 times 12 is 48, subtract 0. So my missing dimension, which is the width, I could say W equals 4. And I guess I should circle these answers. So, and you might have known that without having to divide, and I hope you did. 12 times some number equals 48. All right, let's look at this one. They're giving me the volume. Let me write the formula. Volume equals length times width times height. The volume is 105. And let me go ahead. The missing dimension is the height. I'll put a question mark there. The length is 5. The width is 7. Now let's do what we know. We've got 105 equals, let's grab these. That's 35 times some number is going to give me 105. Well, you could come over and say, well, 35 times 1, or 35 times 2, 35 times 3. You could do that instead of dividing. 35 isn't far from 105. So you could say, well, we know 35 times 1, what that is. Let's try 35 times 2. That's 70. So let me try 35 times 3. That's 50. There it is, 105. So my missing dimension is 3. 35 times 3 equals 105. So I would say my height equals 105. And I guess I should put inches, and I'll circle that. And this one, I should have put feet, and I didn't. Now, I'll let you solve this one on your own. Do the same thing. Write out the volume, include what you know, and then see if you can figure out the missing dimension, which in this case is the width. All right, let's look at the last question. Martin would like to build a toy box for his daughter. The toy box needs to be 5 feet tall and have a volume of 45 cubic feet. What could be the length and width of the toy box? Okay, so let's go. Volume equals length times width times height. The toy box needs to be 5 feet tall. So on height, I'll put a 5. And have a volume of 45. So this needs to be 45. What could be the length and the width? So the length we don't know, and the width we don't know. Now, so I've got to say, well, 5 times this and this will give me 45. Well, I know 5 times 9 would be 45, but I need 2 numbers. So what if I made this one a 9 and this one a 1? Would that work? 5 times 9 is 45. 45 times 1 would equal 45. Okay, that would work. Let's think of another one. Needs to equal 45. I know the height is 5. but I've got to come up with these numbers. Think about 9. What times what gives me 9? 3. So I could put a 3 here and a 3 here, and that would be 9. So let's see. 3 times 3 is 9. Then 9 times 5 would be 45. So these could be the length and the width. I could use a 1 and a 9, or 9 and a 1, or I could put a 3 for the length and the width. And both of those, or all those options, would give me 45 cubic feet. I hope you've done well with this. I hope you understand it. If you have any questions, let me know.